Alright guys, today is the first day in a long time we're doing a video from in the kitchen, and today we got the waffle makers out, we got the eggs, we got a bunch of ingredients, and we're going to be making something called a chaffle. So, what's a chaffle? Let's get into it. So for those of you who maybe are into, let's say, gluten-free, low-carb, keto, carnivore, anything like that, there's a lot of alternatives out there for, say, a bread or a bagel or a muffin or anything of that sort, and most of them are total crap. We happen to eat typically very low-carb slash what I kind of call ketovore, not quite fully carnivore. We still eat some veggies, eat some other things like that, incorporate things maybe like almond flour in the mix. So as far as a chaffle goes, it's only a few ingredients. So that would be almond flour, as I just mentioned, this stuff called xanthan gum. So xanthan gum is basically a natural alternative to gluten, so it still binds things together, but you don't actually get the gluten. Quick little overview for you guys on what exactly xanthan gum is. This is from goodfood.com. So as you can see here, it's basically the byproduct of a fermented sugar, essentially, that's derived from, usually it's from corn, but it can be from other things. You can usually look at the back of the ingredients list, the label of any xanthan gum you get, to see what it's from. Typically, the better products are from corn, from my understanding. But yeah, so there's just an overview and all of its uses and what it's used for. Again, extremely good for gluten-free, celiac disease, all that. So there you go, guys, a little extra info for you. And then baking powder, or if you don't have baking powder, you could substitute it for baking soda. Works very well. And then some sort of a shredded cheese. Now, if you use a mozzarella cheese, as a chaffle might suggest, it's a cheese waffle, chaffle. So a mozzarella cheese is actually going to produce a completely neutral flavor. So essentially, when you make this with a mozzarella, when you eat it, you would actually have no clue that you're actually primarily just eating cheese and eggs. So what we typically do when we make this, we'll at least do about a 4 times recipe. But for a single recipe, that would be 1 egg. And of course, these are eggs right from the chickens. In fact, look at all the colors. Aren't they pretty? But 1 egg, half a cup of cheese. I'm going to have all this marked out here in the video for you. 1/4 teaspoon of the xanthan gum, a half teaspoon of the baking powder or baking soda, and then 1 tablespoon heaping of your almond flour. So we're going to do a 4 times recipe, and that kind of makes things easy for measurements anyways. So since it's 4 times, if I need half a cup for 1 recipe, I can just get my 1 cup and do 2 cups of cheese. Doesn't need to be exact. We're just kind of doing it like this. A little extra might fall in the bowl. No big deal. Now for the xanthan gum, as we mentioned, it was 1/4 teaspoon per recipe. So since we're doing a 4 times recipe, 1 teaspoon. And so I don't mix any in with the baking powder, gonna brush that out a little bit. And then this is a half teaspoon for 1. so times 4, 2 teaspoons. And then our almond flour. Make them kind of heaping a little bit. 2, 3, 4. Alright, now that we're done with all the dry ingredients, we get those out of the way. We'll drag over our eggs here. So, obviously with a 4 times recipe, instead of 1 egg, it's going to be 4. So, there's a 1. There's 2. And 4. And now, the key is to really get this all well mixed together. You've got the xanthan gum in here and the baking powder that both kind of act as binders, so you want those very well mixed and equally distributed. Alright, so we're pretty well mixed here. Should kind of get looking like this, almost like a thick omelet mixture once you're good to go. And then we use these little 4-inch waffle makers. You can get them on Amazon for real cheap. These ones are by a company called Dash. And then basically you start kind of take a good scoop in here, kind of eyeball how much, but be aware it will spread. Usually spread out just a little bit. And we'll hope I don't overflow these. And we'll pop those down. It'll be approximately 3 minutes for these to be done, but you can periodically check them. You know, after give it about a minute, then you can start to, you know, see how they look as it goes. So it's been a couple minutes. Let's check them out. Well, they're looking pretty waffle-like, and I'll usually take it, use a butter knife, flip it over. See if we can get this one free. And let it go for another maybe 30 seconds or so. We've used these for, say, an egg sandwich. It's actually the perfect size for a burger, and it really actually holds together. You'll see when I pull these out that they actually hold together extremely well. So here's the first 2 done, and you can see this holds together extremely well. It's very much like a waffle. And you know, if I pull off a little piece here, you can see it stays together. And with the mozzarella, it doesn't even taste like cheese. So I'm gonna keep going with a few more here, but that's the general gist of it. We initially got one of these little waffle makers. I ended up getting a second one, so you know, we can do 2 at once, make it go quicker. And I also have to give full credit of this recipe to a guy by the name of Jack Spirko. He actually has a podcast called the Survival Podcast, and he covers all kinds of topics, including some dietary, keto, carnivore type stuff, along with a whole plethora of other topics. So full credit to him on this recipe. There's a lot of variations of these chaffle recipes, but his here I've found is by far the best. A lot of other ones just literally come out like a weird cheesy egg thing. And we've actually even taken this mixture, laid it out on a like really grease a sheet pan well first, lay it out, and then put everything on it that you would put on your pizza. Well, first, actually, let me rewind. You'd want to bake just the dough first, bake it pretty good, then lay all your toppings on, throw it back in the oven, or you could even do it in, say, a pellet smoker or whatever on a higher temperature. Kind of turns it into like a wood fire oven. So that's it, guys. It's pretty simple, extremely low carb. I'd be remiss to mention, this is the baking powder we get. We get it on Amazon. Now, you know, it says all these fancy things like grain-free, this and that. The main reason we got this is it's aluminum-free. There's all kinds of weird stuff in our food these days, guys. And baking powder, your typical stuff you go buy from the grocery store, you are hard-pressed to find baking powder that doesn't have aluminum in it. And for those of you that don't know, aluminum, it's heavy metal. Goes into the body, passes the blood-brain barrier. It's not good stuff. So, one of those many things to keep in mind. But, at that is making chaffles. So, try them out, see how you like them. It's a good low-carb, high-protein, high-fat alternative to really anything. Throw some cream cheese on it, throw a burger on it, throw an egg on it, whatever you want to do. Alright, so here's what's for breakfast, guys. We got those 2 chaffles we just made with some cream cheese, some jalapeno everything seasoning. Yeah, look for that jalapeno kind. That stuff is good. Got some scrambled eggs, fresh from the chickens, and some hot sauce on it, of course. Some kale, onions, and garlic. Not from the garden, not quite yet. We're not there. But yeah, there's an example of a breakfast incorporating those chaffles. And just something to note, guys, the mix of the chaffle, you can absolutely store it in the fridge for quite a few days. But my tip would be, if you're going to pull it out of the fridge intending to make some, pull it out, you know, maybe 10-20 minutes, maybe even half an hour before you're going to make it, because it does get thick in the fridge and less easy to kind of manipulate on the waffle makers. So take it out ahead of time. And just something to note, there's a reason why we do the whole low carb, keto, carnivore type thing. So people really don't need to eat a lot of carbs here, especially in this country. A lot of our diet is composed of carbs, the standard American diet. Sad. Here's a funny little tidbit for you. If you were to eat 0 protein ever, you would eventually die. If you were to eat 0 fat ever, you would eventually die. You know what happens if you eat 0 carbs? Nothing. It's what a lot of nutritionists would call a proper human diet, and kind of puts your body into ketosis, or at least close to it, depending on exactly how low carb you are. If you are actually keto carnivore, then you should be in ketosis. But I just kind of wanted to share that one with you guys. And at that, have fun with these chaffles, make something with it, let me know what you think about them, and until the next one, guys, so long.